Hey everyone, I hope you've all been well. It's been a long time since I posted a video, but I have made 2 or 3. They're just sitting in my GoPro, so hopefully I'll get to all of those. But I just got the latest update, and I figure I haven't really driven this car. I have a BMW 5, a new BMW 5 Series that I've been driving around for the last month, and I actually like that car a lot. I think it really competes with this car more on it's more of an equivalent to this car than the S-Class is. I know monetarily this car is more S-Class than 5 Series, but that 5 Series, you know, size-wise and the way it handles, the way it drives, is really nice. I've never been a fan. I've had an S63, I've had 7 Series, and I've also had E-Class and 5 Series, and I've always been more of a E-Class and 5 Series kind of person. I don't like how floaty and heavy the S-Class and the 7 Series are. I don't really enjoy those cars that much. They are bigger, they are probably nicer in many ways, but size-wise and handling dynamics, driving dynamics, the smaller cars really do it for me. So I really like that 5 Series. They really did a nice job with the dash and all of the electronics in the car. Just, I mean, there was even a software update that came in, kind of like Tesla. So it's kind of neat. But such a stark contrast. So many buttons, so many settings, so many different things. But then, you know, also a few features that Tesla doesn't have. Super obtrusive lane keeping assist on the 5 Series. Even it's just really a pain. You just can't. You know how BMW drivers don't use their turn signals well. If you don't use your turn signal, you try to make a lane change, and it kind of stops you. It kind of stinks. But anyways, I haven't driven this car much in the last month. It's just been sitting in the garage, which kind of brought a new problem to light. When this car sits overnight, I seem to be losing about anywhere from 10 to 20 miles of range per day, which is pretty significant. I was doing some research online, and it doesn't seem like, well, I don't know why my car just dropped down to 60. I had it on 68 or so, and it dropped down to 60 miles an hour. So that's another issue. There's some quirks that I've been seeing and some things that have been fixed. As you know, I have full self-driving beta now, and I do use it in town. It requires a great deal of diligence and attention. There's no way that you can use it to just go from point A to point B without being super ready to intervene. It almost took me into the curb a couple times today alone. But let's see, where was I? As far as the range loss, so my car, I guess, is supposed to have a 400 and something mile an hour or 400 and something mile range. I have the 22-inch wheels, of course, which drops it to about 370 something, 379. My car currently shows a maximum range of around 352 on 100% charge. And I've had to do 100% charge a couple times, but I do periodically check it by setting my charge rate from the normal 80% to 100% to see what it displays. And it always displays somewhere around 351, 352, 353, somewhere around there, which is quite a bit of range loss. Again, they say go by percentage, not by range. That doesn't mean much. And even if it says 352, I'm assuming I'm going to get more towards 320, 310. I've never been able to get the exact range out of the car anyway, so, you know, moot point. But the point is, I am losing range on this. On top of that, just having the car sit in the garage off the charger for so long, I noticed that when I leave the car for a week and I come back, it's sitting at 40%, 50%, somewhere around there, and I leave it at 80%. And the car does not, these cars don't like to be at 50%. That's probably the worst place you could leave this battery. It needs to be at 80% to be happy. So I was leaving the car on the charger now, and then so I got to thinking, you know, what's going on? And I kept checking my charge level every night, and just prior to charge, and I was losing about 12 to 20, at one time 22 to 24 miles of range per day, which is highly unusual, because, you know, for some of you that travel a lot, leave the car at the airport for a week, that could be a problem, especially if you don't leave it with a full charge. If you leave it with half a charge and you're losing, you know, 100 miles of range, you could be in trouble, big trouble. So I thought I'd check it out. I sent a request for a service call to my local service center, and they were gonna check it out remotely, or I mean, what is it? You know, with a Tesla vehicle where they come to your house call. I don't know what you call it. And I had to cancel last minute because we decided to go to Vegas, so I canceled that last minute. I've rescheduled that for this coming weekend, so we'll see what they say, but I'm pretty sure that they're just going to say, well, that's normal, but I don't think that's normal. Reading online, a lot of people say that they're not losing that much range. I'm kind of curious how you guys are, what you guys are experiencing on the new revised S. So I'm kind of curious. I don't recall that being as big an issue on my other two Model 3s. So, you know, I'd like to get to the bottom of that, especially if I have Sentry mode off. I have any climate, you know, control settings off, because my you know, it's just sitting in the garage. I'm not driving it. I don't need to do any of that preconditioning or any preheating or any of that stuff, or maintaining a temperature. So, excuse me, taking a drink. So I'd like to figure that out, and I'm curious what your experience is. So moving on to FSD Beta. FSD Beta I used today for the first time in about a month, and there have been 2 FSD updates since I last used it, and the car seems to be doing a little bit better. A little bit. It's still like teaching a 16-year-old how to drive. You know, when they're driving, making a turn, you know, you still have to make sure that they're not turning into oncoming lanes, as opposed to, you know, correctly negotiating the center barrier and making a left turn into the right, you know, lanes. That kind of thing is, you know, you just gotta watch it. You gotta watch it, and it's very aggressive. I think this car is super aggressive in FSD mode, both in terms of late braking, and I feel like it's always going a little too fast. So I have it set so the car drives at 5 miles under the speed limit, and I feel a little more comfortable with that. I know that sounds strange. Most people will want to go at least 5 miles, if not 10 miles over the limit. But when FSD Beta is driving, I feel way more comfortable at 5 miles under. So I've been doing that lately. Braking is really late. Like, if it's getting ready to set up for a left turn, I notice that it doesn't start braking almost until the left turn lanes appear. The entrance for the left turn lanes, which is way too late in my opinion. I would rather the car brake slower as it comes up to the left turn lanes, but I have a feeling it just doesn't know where they are until it sees it. It sees it when it sees it, and that's when it'll start braking. So that's just my thoughts, and I have to go in there and see if there's a mode to adjust that. Driving intensity, maybe. I thought it was just lane changes, but maybe I need to go and look at that. So I found that to be an issue. It seems to be doing a little bit better overall, but I did find one interesting advantage. If I don't set a destination and I use FSD Beta like this car is in now, the stop sign, the stoplight thing doesn't happen. Like, if you are in standard autopilot and you have it set up so it negotiates stoplights for you, every time you come up to a stoplight, you have to, it'll tell you that it's preparing to stop for a traffic control signal, and you have to tell it by giving it a you know, blip on the autopilot button or tapping the screen that you want it to go ahead and proceed through because it's a green light, or there's a, you know, you're okay to go. even on a green light, if you don't do that, the car will try to stop. Unless, there's a caveat there, if you're following a vehicle in front of you and it goes through the green light, the car will proceed through the green light without asking you for input. Now, if you have FSD Beta, it takes away that nanny component and it reads the green light and it'll proceed right through without your input, which makes sense. But I'm seeing that as a huge advantage to FSD Beta in town, because now I'm not constantly having to either A, tap the button, B, tap the screen, or C, tap the accelerator to tell it to proceed through the intersection. Because I see a green light, I know I have a green light, I know you see a green light and you want to stop, so I want you to proceed. Well, with FSD Beta, you don't have to do that. So that's been a plus. It's just interesting that the driving dynamics are so different. Now, if I turn off FSD Beta and I drive in autopilot in town, it is not nearly as aggressive, and I feel perfectly comfortable driving 5 miles over the limit. So it's kind of weird. It's like the whole driving profile is different for FSD Beta, and it's just super aggressive. And I would imagine it's because it's trying to navigate, let's say for example, a right turn on a red light or a right turn at a stop sign. It needs to commit and it needs to go. There's no, tiptoeing through the tulips. You can't just slowly navigate that turn because, a car could be coming. There could be approaching vehicles. There could be a bicyclist or pedestrian coming up in that intersection. When it's clear, it wants to go. So it goes. And maybe that's why it's so aggressive, and it's just straight city driving down a straight road when it's not making turns. I don't know, but it's totally different. Like two different people are driving, so that's interesting. Outside of that, I don't have a whole lot to share. The car has been great. I have 9,200 miles on this car. I'm coming up on 10,000, so I will definitely do a 10,000 mile ownership update on this car. Sneak preview, I have 0 rattles, 0 complaints about this car. Nothing has fallen apart. Everything seems great. I do have one little issue that kind of popped up, and I'm going to investigate whether that's actually a problem or not, and then I will report that in the 10,000 mile update. Paint has been very good. There is one issue with the paint. Again, I will report that in the 10,000 mile update. I know it might be suspenseful. Hey, I don't want to give that away. I have to have some content to share later on. So, and I'll try to do that during the day with a walk around so you guys can see the car, see some of the things that I'd like to talk about. So let's talk soon. And in the meantime, I'm going to try to dig my other videos off this GoPro and maybe post those before I post this one. I don't know. I'm just going to post them. Maybe I'll post them all at once. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay. So again, I hope all of you guys have been well. Until we talk again. Bye.